Hello everyone, we are back. We're doing the Math 1 book, page 91, number 16 through 27. Just going to show you how to solve some equations here. Basically, this is just a perfect square trinomial here. What multiplies into 49 adds up to 14, and that's 7 and 7. So most people are going to start this question by writing x plus 7 times x plus 7 equals 0, and then from there you set each factor equal to 0. X plus 7 equals 0, x plus 7 equals 0. Then you subtract 7 from both sides. Now you have x equals negative 7, x equals negative 7. Now it's the same exact number, and basically all this means is that when you graph the quadratic, it's going to hit, the vertex is going to hit at negative 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's going to be a vertex there. Okay, and what it's actually called is multiplicity. So we have a factor of negative 7. It's twice. Okay. So anyways, number 17, 8w squared equals 50. See, there's a multiplication here. The only way to unlock that multiplication is to either multiply by 1/8 or to divide by 8. I think most people are used to seeing divide by 8, so I'm going to write that. So w squared equals 50 over 8. What I think in my head is that 2 goes into both numbers. 2 goes into 50 25 times, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. So it's 25 over 4. So then from there you're going to take the square root of both sides. The square root of w squared is w. Well, it's the absolute value of w really, but w. And if I were to take the square root of this, remember I'm going to do two signs, a plus and a minus sign. So what's the square root of 25? Is just 5. Square root of 4 is just 2. Okay, so you have two answers, positive 5/2, negative 5/2. There's another method of doing it, in which case you would subtract the 50, then take a greatest common factor out, and then do the difference of squares. But this is the better way and the more accepted route to finish this question. Now notice the difference between the two questions. On number 16 you have three terms. You have an a term, ax squared, plus bx plus c. You have an a and a b term and a c term. On number 17 you have an a term, aw squared, and a c term. That's a constant because it doesn't have a w next to it. So you have an a and a c, ax squared plus c kind of a form. So anyway, that's why you are able to divide and then take the square root on both sides. Alright, scooting on down here to number 18. You have 64p squared minus 16p plus 1. What I would do is do this problem using the Lizzie method. And I like to write the word down just so everybody knows that I'm going to be doing the Lizzie method here. Lizzie tells me that I need to look at the problem like this. P squared minus 16p plus 64 equals 0. Remember, the Lizzie method is where I multiply the 64 and the 1, and I just write that answer right here, the 64. Now I have to think to myself, what multiplies up to 64 and adds up to negative 16? And if you've practiced along all year, you're probably getting kind of quick at this. P times p is p squared. What multiplies up to 64 and adds up to 16? 8 and 8, but it has to add up to negative 16. So I'm going to do negative 8 and negative 8. They still multiply to positive 64, and they add up to negative 16. Now, we are not finished. What we have to do now is, since we had multiplied by that 64, we need to come down here and divide by the 64. And remember, reduce fractions if you can. and you can in this case, so p minus 1/8 times p minus 1/8 equals 0. And this is simply 8p minus 1, and this is 8p minus 1. So in other words, it's 8p minus 1 squared equals 0. And then you could square root both sides if you want, and that just gives you 8p minus 1 equals 0. And then I'm going to, and I've done this a couple of times before, I'm doing 2 steps in one. I'm going to be adding 1 and dividing by 8. Add 1, divide by 8. Your answer is 1/8. Alright, number 23. First off, I have a negative as my a value, and I just don't like that. So what I'm going to do is divide both sides by -1, and essentially all that does, sorry, it's r squared, 7r squared, is change all the signs. Minus 140. Sorry, my hand is getting in the way when I write. 140r plus 700 equals 0. Alright, and now there is a greatest common factor, and that greatest common factor is 7. So I'm going to divide both sides by 7. In the very first step, I could have divided by a -7. I just chose to do it this way. So r squared minus, looks like that would be 20r plus 100 equals 0. So what multiplies up to 100 and adds up to 20? Well, I'm thinking 10 and 10. So r minus 10 and r minus 10. So it's r minus 10 squared, which equals 0. Okay, then you can square root both sides. You get r minus 10 equals 0, and then you add 10 to both sides, and you get r equals 10. Okay. What you want to do is multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of this fraction. There was another section that we had done, we multiplied by powers of 10. Well, now we're just going to multiply by a 2 on both sides. This gives me 25x squared plus 30x plus 9 equals 0. And now it's just the same as the others. What I'm going to do is give you